Okay, so as you can see, I've already done my eye makeup, and I always do my eye makeup first because if you ever get any fallout, you can just wipe it away. Start with my foundation. The foundation I'm using today is the Maybelline Fit Me foundation. And to apply my foundation, I'm going to be using a beauty blender. I always wet it because whenever it's wet, it picks up the extra product that you get on your face that really helps with you not looking so cakey. Now that I have the product on my beauty blender, I'm just going to start on either side. It really doesn't matter. I always start on this side. And I put it towards the middle and do circles. And then blending my foundation down to my neck. I don't get any additional product. I just use whatever's left on my beauty blender. And you move your hair. I just kind of drag it down the sides. This way you don't have a sharp line of foundation. Okay, now right after my foundation, I always go in with my concealer. Today I'm going to be using the Rimmel London Match Perfect Concealer in the number 230. And I like to put this like right underneath my eyes to really brighten it up. And then on my forehead, chin, and a little bit on my nose, but not too much. So I just kind of feather it down. And as you can see, I'm not putting it directly right underneath my eyes because I find that whenever you put concealer right under your eyes, it really does stick to that part because right under your eyes is typically very dry and foundation likes to go into all those little crevices, so it really does stick a lot to that certain spot, and you're trying not to do that. So to even it out, I only put it down here. So there's only product down here, but whatever gets smeared up will stay. Now the purpose of putting the lighter colors in the center of your face, which is called your T-zone, is to really bring the light to the front of your face and to bring the darker side to the outer side of your face, which makes your face look thinner by bringing it forward and then pulling it back by the parts that are wider. So now I'm taking my beauty blender just to blend all this out. I never wipe with my beauty blender because it does steal the product, so by pouncing it really does make everything last a lot longer. Another big tip that I can share with you is that right now I have a smaller mirror right here, and then I have a bigger mirror behind me. And the thing is about that is when you're doing your makeup, you're normally really close up, but then when you look away, you're like, wait a second. So having two mirrors really does help. I know it's quite a hassle to have two mirrors, but if you do have the option of having two mirrors, it really is worth it. And as you can see, I do have a few little spots here and there, so I'm just going to go in with the concealer and clean that up. But I do use a separate brush to do this part, because whenever you're using to cover up like a blemish or anything, you really don't want to contaminate the actual brush on the end of this. So I use a smaller brush that I clean frequently to conceal any spots that I have. And then I just go in with my beauty blender and I just keep it in one spot and just go up and down, and I don't move at all so that all the product does stay in that small little area. So now that we have our highlighter on, now we need to go in with a contour color. I prefer personally to use cream contours. I just find them easier to use. It's kind of a warmer color. I don't really use a very dark brown. So right where you have like tiny little baby hairs, I go right in front of that just so that you don't get hair all the way back here, makeup in your hair. So I just go in a small little triangle, and then I'll just do the same thing to the other side. And if you have a hard time finding where your cheekbones are, just go from the tip of your ear to the edge of your mouth, and that line right there is your cheekbone. and then I use whatever is left on the little end to go one line from like the middle of my eyebrow up. I do a line on either side. And when I'm using one of the kind of oranger lighter colors, I don't put it under my neck because I find that it makes my neck look way too orange. So I'll show you a different color that I use for my jawline. I'm going to use this brush. It's from Real Techniques. Just to kind of buff this out, I do like to use a bigger synthetic brush that's really like dense, which really helps with the blending out and you're really in control of where the product goes. So at first I'm just going to start pouncing this around to kind of stipple it in. And then once I feel like it's spread around, I'll start doing small circular motions. And now to blend out the top, I turn the brush to the side and just up and down, staying along that line, and then bringing it down just a little bit. Okay, so now to contour, I'm going to go in with the NYX Contour Kit. When we're using the darkest shade, I only use that shade in the palette because I find that the other ones are a little bit too sticky for me. So I just get this brush, it's a smaller, it's by e.l.f. I just get a little bit of that, just go kind of back and forth. And again, when you're trying to find your cheekbone, I never do the fishy face because I find that it pushes out your cheekbone, so it really doesn't help with you finding it. So just remember that line from the top of your ear to your mouth and just go back and forth, staying in one straight line. And you can see how that just gives a small, subtle little shadow. And then I turn the brush to the side just to blend it all together. And then if I do want a contoured forehead just a little bit, I go on the outside of my hairline because I don't want it to be too far down. And then I just kind of use whatever's left on my brush. And then again on the other side, just following that line from the top of the ear to the mouth. So now, like I said, I don't use the oranger color for my jawline. I do like to use this browner color. And you can see when you look straight and to the side a little bit, you have a natural shadow. So I don't want to darken that too much. I just kind of like to emphasize it. So I go back and forth just like this, right over top of it. And then once you get to your actual chin, I just go right underneath it. And after everything's done, I'd like to blend it all together with that same brush that we used in the very beginning. So to set my contour and highlight, I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild palette, the contour, using this Real Techniques brush, just getting that yellower highlighter shade, tapping off the excess. And I only go right underneath my eye. I don't like to bring it all the way out because that really does take away from the contour. So I look up so that all your lines are non-existent. And then I just put it right underneath. And then dragging it down to my nose. And again, I'm not wiping because I don't want to take away the product. You can see how this side looks a lot better than this side. I'm just going to do the same thing to the other eye. Okay, and now knowing that I did my eyes first, sometimes you do get some eyeshadow in the inner corner and it really can darken your eyes. So I get whatever's left on this brush and just kind of put it right there, focusing it in the inner corner. and as you can see, it just brightens up your eye a lot better. Okay, to set my bronzer, I'm going to be using this brush from Real Techniques, and I'm going to be getting the darker color in the palette from the Wet n Wild, and I'm just going to focus this right where we put our contour. And again, turning the brush and then going up the sides. Setting your cream contour really will help make it last a lot longer and to not smear and go away throughout the day. Okay, and I really like a bronzy, shimmery color on my cheeks, so I'm going to be using this Revolution Baked Bronzer, and I'm going to be using this very fluffy brush. Just getting some on the end of my brush, tapping it off, and then just like that. And I'm going to be using the same company to do my blush. I'm going to be using the Baked Blush, using this brush from the Real Techniques. And I'm just going to smile and focus it kind of where there is no product, so between the highlight and between the bronzer, just kind of putting it right in between there. Just dragging it down. I don't do circular motions because it's harder to control, so by just flicking it down, you have way more control over your brush. Okay, and to highlight today, I'm going to be using this e.l.f. palette right here. I'm going to be taking these two, it's more the bronzy shade and the lighter shade, tapping it off, and I like to focus it right underneath your brow, and I kind of just paint it on and shake it down the sides. And then I go in with just the lighter shade and put that right underneath. And now you could totally leave it just like this, but I prefer to highlight my nose and the top of my mouth, which is your Cupid's bow. So what I do is I get the lightest color in this palette, and I only focus it. I kind of put it flat and just go like this, back and forth. And it really does show the edge of your lips, which will also help in lining your lips. And then I just go on the very tip of my nose. Tink. To highlight, again, I'm going to be going in with the Anastasia, however you want to say it, the Glow Kit. And I'm going to be using this fan brush from Ulta. I'm going to get White Sand and Sunray, putting them both together. And I like to just push it here and then pull it down. Again, because you have way more control if you're dragging things down. And I like to go over my lips again. I'm going to highlight my inner corner using the Revolution's lightest color. I'm going to be using an angled brush. It's way easier to do your inner corner if you do have an angled brush because you can really get in there. I'm just going to get some on my brush, tap it off, and then I put it right in the inner corner. Today I'm going to be using the Morphe M432 brush to do underneath my eyes. I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild palette that we use to set everything. Just going with that brown and keeping it pretty close to my lash line, but not all the way on top, and just dragging it down. And whenever I'm dragging it towards the inner part of my eye, I don't go any farther than my actual eyelashes, which is typically like past your eye, because I find that it does make your eyes look like they're too closed, but putting the lighter color in the inner corner will really help brighten them up. Yes, I know I say brighten up in every single video. And now I'm just going to put some mascara on my bottom lashes using the Ulta Twice as Nice Voluminous Mascara. It has the bigger side on one side and the smaller side on the other. I'm just going to use this smaller side to do right underneath. And now I'm going to set my makeup with the e.l.f. Makeup Mist and Set Spray. Okay guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up. Write a comment and tell me what you guys want to see, and I'll make sure to make those videos as soon as I can. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Bye. Oh yeah, nailed it! Yeah. Okay, and to shimmer... Okay, no. So what am I saying? I'm funny.